Hello class, here's my audience. Okay, today I will be demonstrating the basics of chess and important things to know in order to play it at the beginner level. I am not a chess grandmaster, international master, any of that. I just play for fun, so yeah. A little backstory before we begin. Chess originates from India originally, all the way back in the 6th century with a name that I'm not even going to try and pronounce. So to start off, I would like to go over the board. Chessboard consists of an 8x8 group of squares alternating in color, and each square has a number and letter value such as A1, E4, or H8. On the chessboard, there are 32 pieces with varying looks and movesets. To start, there are pawns, which make up 16 of the pieces. Pawns can either move 1 or 2 squares on their forwards on their first move, and 1 square forward after that, no matter if they chose 1 square or 2 squares. The interesting thing about pawns is how they capture other pieces. Pawns cannot capture pieces directly in front of themselves, so these two would be at a stalemate and cannot move anymore. However, if a pawn were to come here or here, this pawn could capture either of them, and either of them could capture this pawn, because pawns can capture anything that is on the squares directly to the left or right of whatever is directly in front of them. Another interesting thing about pawns is that if a pawn manages to make it all the way to the other side, hypothetically, it would be able to swap with any other piece, which makes it a really valuable strategy, but it is not necessary in order to win. On the ends of the boards are the rooks, which can be used in forwards and backwards movements or left and right movements. As long as they are not obstructed, they can go as far as they want. Rooks are also used for a move which is called castling, which I will be going over when I get to the king. Next are the bishops. Each player receives 2 bishops, one on each type of square, red and white for this example, and they can move as far as they want diagonally in any way, as long as they are not obstructed by a piece. And that makes them very important and part of many different strategies involving many different variations of pieces. The next piece I will go over is this horse, which is a knight. The knight is my favorite piece because of the patterns it can attack in. Knights can move in an L-shaped pattern where they move. I'm sorry, my dog came downstairs and interrupted us. The knight is my favorite piece because it can move in L-shaped directions, which is the only piece that can do that. And it also is the only piece that can jump over other pieces, making it very valuable. And I'm a big fan of the knight. I think it's very underused. Whew. Sorry about that. Second to last, and the second most important piece, is the queen. Queen is the most powerful piece, being able to move in any pattern, forwards or sideways, backwards or diagonal. Basically anything that the rook and bishop can do. And that makes it extremely valuable and obviously the most powerful piece. Ideally, if you moved a pawn to the end, like so, made it all the way to the end, you could get another queen, which is really, in my opinion, the only viable option besides a knight, because anything else doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then finally, we have the king. The king is the most important piece. The objective of the game is to capture the king and protect your own king. There is a slight issue though. The king is not very powerful, and it can only move 1 square forward in any direction. Any of these 8 squares it can move to, nothing else. So ideally, you would want to protect it and launch attacks with these other pieces. I mentioned before a move called castling, which is where you swap a rook with a king. So basically, this is done to protect the king, and it can only be done with nothing between the 2 pieces. So if you had these pieces still here, can't do it. Also, if you move either of these pieces, can't do it. But if you meet all the criteria, you swap the pieces. So they end up right in the middle, swapped. Very interesting and useful tactic if used properly. I'm a fan of it. And so now that I've given a basic function of each piece and the objective of the game, I will now do a quick example of how a game may be with my brother. Okay. So you would start off, you would shake hands, and then whoever has the white pieces moves first. So if I wanted to make an opening of e5, for example, I would put it there, and then my opponent would make a move. So then, hypothetically, you can do whatever. You can do whatever. I like to develop my pawns first, but you can move your knight, for example. You can also take as long or as quick as you want with each move. I forgot to mention that. Really doesn't matter. Did you go? So that is a forfeit. You would shake hands. You don't always have to. There's multiple ways to win. You could either win by checkmate, or you can win on time, or your opponent can just forfeit. So that is an example of a forfeit. It was a little intro to a game, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Here's my audience one more time. All right. Have a good time, everybody.